Hello and welcome to the News at 7, where we get to the heart of the day's stories and communities across Scotland. Tonight, victims look for answers as the public inquiry into the disgraced surgeon Sam Eljamel begins.
Myself and all the patients that I represent don't want this to happen again. We don't know if there's another Eljamel out there at this moment in time.
Also tonight, the parents calling for more to be done when it comes to paying for children's nursery daycare.
I can't believe the difference in funding for childcare between England and Scotland, and being someone that has moved from England up here, it's really quite stark.
We've got all the sport with Sheila. What do you have for us tonight?
We'll be speaking to Robert McIntyre ahead of his last tournament before he jets off to New York for the Ryder Cup.
And fans of Lewis Capaldi get ready for his homecoming tour. I'm Graham Stewart. Welcome to the News at 7. Important day for the victims of the surgeon Sam Eljamel. He was head of the neurosurgery department at Dundee's Ninewells Hospital until he was suspended in 2013. He harmed dozens of patients through botched surgery and left some with life-changing injuries. Well, today, as a public inquiry began in Edinburgh to understand what went wrong, NHS Tayside apologised for the way it had handled concerns about him. Jules Rose has been telling me how during an operation she had a tear gland removed instead of a brain tumour.
I was diagnosed with a rare brain tumour in 2013. I went in for surgery under Professor Eljamel in August 2013, and he told me after the operation that it was 99% removed. He got me back in to say that he told me a cock and bull story, that they hadn't got all the tumour out because it had been obscured. It was pressing on the lacrimal gland, which is your tear gland, which had caused it to swell up, and it was hiding the tumour, and that he was going to have to go back in and remove more of the tumour. And I asked him that I thought you told me it was 99% removed the first time, and he totally changed his demeanour like that and said, I told you I got some of it out. So I went back in for surgery in December 2013, and he removed the tumour that time. However, what we didn't know at the time was Sam Eljamel was under supervision. The supervision consisted of Eljamel visiting patients in their ward rounds only. There was no supervision in the operating theatre. And to add more insult to injury, NHS Tayside had commissioned the Royal College of Surgeons to do an investigation into his practice based on the complaints that were coming forward. And in 2013 that happened. The Royal College of Surgeons issued a damning report, an interim report in the October. NHS Tayside did nothing about that, and they then sent the final report on the 6th of December, and I was in for surgery on the 9th of December. NHS Tayside claimed not to have received that report and allowed myself and 4 other patients to be under the care of Eljamel whilst they knew they were going to suspend him the next day. And
this is obviously not just about, as you say, Sam Eljamel and what he did, but it's about the handling of the complaints process by NHS Tayside and the police. What are you hoping out of this inquiry?
Well, out of the public inquiry, you know, myself and all the patients that I represent don't want this to happen again. We don't know if there's another Eljamel out there at this moment in time. We don't know what the other health boards are capable of doing or allowing a surgeon like Eljamel to do. We want to see radical patient reform, patient safety, so that no other victim like us no other patient needs to go through what we've went through.
In terms of the handling of it then, it was interesting also, I think you received an apology, didn't you, about the police investigation into this as well?
Yeah, the police were back on track. They've issued an apology into the length of time it's taken, and they've now gone on record to say that, you know, they're investigating criminality into not just Sam Eljamel, but into NHS Tayside, the health board also. Jules Rose, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. Thank you.
Well, if you'd like to hear more of Jules' story, she's been speaking to our colleagues on Scotcast, which is available now over on BBC Sounds, and you can also see it on this channel at 11 o'clock tonight. Next tonight, there's long been a debate about whether life should mean life when it comes to sentencing. 20 years ago, lifelong restriction orders were introduced to protect the public from sexual and violent offenders. Prisoners can only be released if the parole board decides it's safe to do so, but the vast majority of these offenders are still in jail. And Scotland's human rights watchdog has warned that prisoners are suffering psychological distress and inhuman and degrading treatment. NHS nurse Shirley Hutton has launched a campaign for their abolition. Her brother Paul admitted 2 charges of indecent assault against former partners. His initial punishment was 18 months. He's still in prison almost 16 years later.
He goes through cycles where he feels just utter despair, and it's very hard for us to know how to comfort him in that respect, because it is a hopeless situation. How do you keep somebody hopeful when there is no hope? But every day there are people being released who have committed far more violent, serious offences.
For many victims of violent or sexual crimes, lifelong restriction orders can offer a level of reassurance and protection that wouldn't otherwise exist in the justice system.
Broadly, our view would be that OLRs are working and are human rights compliant. That's very much the focus of our team, and focusing on not just the human rights of individuals who are subject to the sentence, but under Article 8, considering the significant levels of psychological trauma that have impacted on over 1,600 victims.
Well, with me now to discuss all of this is Dr. Andrew Tickell, who is a senior law lecturer at Glasgow Caledonia University. Are these restriction orders, are they working as originally intended?
Well, certainly what they were intended to do was to create a life sentence for people who aren't convicted of murder. So the goal here was to identify those people who are committing violent crime, sexual crimes, crimes to danger of life, or crimes which suggest a propensity, a disposition to commit those crimes, to give them a chance to have a life sentence where we can analyse them, I suppose, based on what risk they pose to the public. And that's what's make this a bit different from other types of sentences. Instead of just 4 years in prison, you have the 4-year punishment part. That's the minimum period of time you have to spend in custody before being considered for parole. And after that, it's a matter for the parole board. And that's all about perceived risks. Is this person a risk to the general public?
Yeah, one of the complaints from human rights groups is that prisoners don't know when they're going to be released. Is that contrary to the principles of justice? Is it contrary to human rights even?
So, under Article 3 of the European Convention, you have a right to be free from inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. And the European Court in Strasbourg has held in some scenarios it can be contrary to ECHR to keep people in custody for a very long time. In England and Wales, there was a controversy around similar types of sentences. But there what we saw were people who were serving sentences for shoplifting, for example, who were jailed for fairly short sentences and still found themselves in custody for 14 years. I imagine if you ask the Scottish Government around this, what they would say is, well, these are sentences which are aimed at serious violent and sexual offenders, and that makes this a different sentencing regime to other people. If you put yourself in the shoes of these people, and I guess many folk would not really be inclined to, but if you do, it means that they're often serving relatively short, fixed sentences. They know they're in jail for at least 6 years, and then some of them, as we can see from the statistics, are then serving up to 18 and beyond that. So on a human level, perhaps you could understand that they're in limbo for a long time.
Briefly, do you think the system can be tweaked or reformed to satisfy everybody?
So there are some arguments you might make. Some of the arguments from the Human Rights Commission are maybe we should be able to review these sentences. If someone is given an OLR at the age of 20 for violent crime, after 18 years in custody, should they still be serving an OLR? That's an alternative approach that we might adopt here. But I do think there are still likely to be situations where you do have some offenders who haven't committed murder, who actually, when you look at their conduct towards their partners, their ex-partners, people who fall within their social ambit, are dangerous to the public and therefore may well merit longer sentences. We're talking about hundreds of people in custody here out of a Scottish prison population of several thousands.
Andrew Tickell from Glasgow Caledonia University, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us on tonight's news at 7. There's more coming up in the programme, including...
I'm in Aberdeen ahead of Lewis Capaldi's big Scottish comeback.
We've
got a band of heavy rain working its way northwards across the country at the moment, and there's more rain on the way tomorrow as well. I'll have a full forecast for you later.
Campaigners calling for changes to the way childcare is funded made their voices heard at Holyrood earlier today. It comes as England extended childcare provisions for all those above 9 months. In Scotland, a similar scheme doesn't apply until the child is 3. But the Scottish Government says it already invests more than £1 billion per year in childcare, and they add that they're the only country to offer universal free childcare for all 3- and 4-year-olds, and they're happy to consider ways to help parents. The BBC's Hayley Jarvis spoke to those protesting.
Parents have gathered here today with their babies and toddlers to call for better childcare provision. I'm joined by Carol Erskine, who's organised the event. Carol, why have you organised this today?
Today we're launching a campaign. I work for Pregnant and Screwed, and it's really calling for the parties ahead of next year's Holyrood elections to make childcare a priority. We've worked with the New Economics Foundation to model fully costed, expanded, funded childcare in Scotland so younger children can access that, but also crucially a cap on costs, and that would be set at 5% of a family's income. There was a mum here this morning with a sign saying she pays nearly £17,000 a year in childcare. We have to do something about the younger children. We have to offer that support.
Bernie, you're here today. Why have you come?
So I've come because I think it's such an important issue for Scotland. I can't believe the difference in funding for childcare between England and Scotland. And being someone that has moved from England up here, it's really quite stark, the difference. And it makes a huge financial impact on us. The childcare cost is absolutely enormous with 2 at nursery, in private nursery right now. And it's just really difficult to afford it. I really hope that the Scottish Government actually listen. It was amazing to see so many parents here today and so many children as well. And I really hope that they take notice and understand what a big issue it is for parents in Scotland.
Now, the Scottish Government say their childcare provision helps those that need it most, but they're always open to hearing new ideas on how to better support families.
OK, let's get a roundup of the stories making the BBC News app in Scotland. And First Minister John Swinney says he's had a constructive discussion with the US President Donald Trump over whisky tariffs. The two met in the Oval Office yesterday. 4 men have been found guilty of murdering a man who had dropped his girlfriend off outside her house in East Renfrewshire. Tony Ferns was stabbed while waiting in his car in Thornley Bank. And a brick has been thrown through the window of a hotel housing asylum seekers in Falkirk. Hundreds of pro- and anti-immigration demonstrators have gathered there over the past month. And for more information on all these stories, you can scan the QR code on screen now, and that will take you to the BBC Scotland News app, where there's lots more for you, including photos across Scotland. Now, the last time Lewis Capaldi performed a full set for his Scottish fans was back in May 2023, when he headlined Radio 1's Big Weekend in Dundee. Well, since then, his struggles with mental health and Tourette syndrome have been well documented. But after making a rapturous return to the Glastonbury stage this summer and hitting the top of the charts with his comeback single Survive, Lewis is back performing on home soil for the first time tonight, with the first of 2 sellout gigs at Aberdeen's P&J Live Arena. And Rebecca Curran is there for us this evening. Rebecca, is the excitement building already?
Oh, it certainly is, Graham. Fans have been flocking here all afternoon, perhaps hoping to catch an early glimpse of the man himself, although we haven't spotted him quite yet. But 20,000 people are expected here over the next 2 days, all desperate to see Lewis Capaldi back on stage doing what he does best. His comeback started earlier this summer at Glastonbury, which was a huge moment for him, given that was the last place he performed before taking a step out of the spotlight to focus on his health. But he's always received a really warm welcome here. He set a record here in 2023 for the largest indoor Scottish audience. And of course, there was that gig a few days before the first COVID lockdown, which ended up being the last major event before the entire country was shut down. So there's a lot of history here, and the fans that I spoke to this afternoon just said they cannot wait to see him back.
All his songs are so compassionate and like all about love and heartbreak, and I feel like I can relate to that a lot as well. So
I'm just so excited to see him and being amongst everything because I've been watching the TikToks and I've just been so excited about it.
He doesn't close off the bad parts of life as well and kind of makes you feel like it's okay to not be okay and that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, after Aberdeen, the next stop is Glasgow, where Lewis Capaldi will play 2 gigs at the OVO Hydro this weekend, which will be a huge moment for him given it's his home city. But he told fans in Sheffield last weekend that he wasn't going to speak much during the concert because he didn't quite know what to say, before telling them that it meant the world to be back. But I don't think that this 2-year hiatus has done much to damage his career, because the entire tour sold out within seconds. So I think it's safe to say, Graham, that the self-proclaimed Scottish Beyoncé has been very much missed.
Rebecca, thanks very much indeed. Now, from today, pupils in Scotland will be able to study film and screen as a subject at school. It'll be offered to children aged between 3 and 18. The course has received backing from Scottish film stars, including James McAvoy, Chloe Perry and Martin Compston. Well, with me now is Fee Milligan-Rennie, who's the head of screen education for Screen Scotland. Thanks for coming into the studio.
Thank you so much.
What is it exactly that children will be learning then?
Children will be learning the art of filmmaking. That is how to make a film well, how to understand all of the components of a film or a television programme or a piece of online content, and to do it in a way that feels real to them, that means something to them. We're treating it as an art. It is an art form. We're treating it as an art form. We're delivering it as an art form. It's not about sit in a chair and watch something. It's about on your feet, moving around. Let's do it.
I guess they're a step ahead of people of our generation because they've grown up with mobile phones and they've got that film technology, OK, at a more basic level, in their own hands.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is the moment where we can introduce this comfortably and safely. If there's one phone in a school, they can teach film and screen. We don't need lots of fancy tech. You can do it exactly with what's available.
Now, is this actually a qualification or is it just part of the overall curriculum?
So, it is an element of the curriculum in its own right. It starts at age 3. So when you start nursery, you can start learning about film and screen. And when you get to the point in your education when it's senior phase, which is when you're making your choices for your National Fives or Hires or awards or National Progression Awards, lots of different qualifications available. Film and screen exists at what we would call level 5, which is a bit like a Nat 5, and level 6, which is equivalent to a higher. So it happens all the way through, and if you want to choose it as a qualification, it's absolutely there.
It's interesting what you say about the cost of the technology not being a huge problem because lots of kids obviously have phones. But what about if you're from a poor or disadvantaged background? Is this available to you as a career?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's really important. That's one of the main drivers for this. Screen Scotland believes that there's talent everywhere. And if there's talent everywhere, then we need to make the opportunity for that talent to shine, to grow. Having access to that kit at home, if your teacher has a phone, it doesn't matter. As long as there's one phone in a school, everybody can be involved.
Well, thanks so much indeed for coming in, and good luck to the filmmakers of the future.
Thank you.
Now, things got a bit awkward in Port Glasgow today after it was named the most dismal town by the controversial Carbuncle Awards. Urban Realm, who run the awards, say that it's an area of squandered potential. The Province of Inverclyde accused the judges of not doing their homework. Here's the rather awkward moment. They tried to hand over the award to a local businessman.
It just strikes me that it's the wrong time for this award. And I know you're looking for somebody to award it to. We have a bin sitting here. We're quite happy to place it in the bin for you. Well, if that's acceptable to you.
Why not? It's a bit of theatre. I think what I would say before I do place it in the reception is that we are approaching this. We have the same goals. You're not willing to accept the award at this moment, so unfortunately we've got someone else over here who might be able to take the award for it.
Yeah, OK, still to come, we have the weather with Christopher, and we hear from one of the finalists of this year's Make a Difference Awards. But first, it's time for sports with Sheila.
Hello there. Yes, we're going to start with some golf tonight, and this man, Robert McIntyre, who's getting set for the last big tournament before the Ryder Cup, the PGA Championship at Wentworth in Surrey. There were plenty of famous faces at today's Celebrity Pro-Am round, including Scotland Rugby co-captain Finn Russell and tennis legend Andy Murray. The main event gets underway tomorrow. Oban's McIntyre will be trying to perfect his game before he joins up with the European team in New York. Brian McLaughlin caught up with the world number 9 for a chat.
One of my main goals this year was to really compete in a major. I feel like I competed in 3 of them. Right till almost the end. PGA, I didn't. After 2 rounds, I was in great position. Didn't finish it off, but obviously US Open was a close call, and then the Open I was still in there with a chance. So, no, the year's been a massive improvement from a whole perspective, but statistically, I'm just getting better.
I remember 7, 8 years ago now when you turned pro, you always, you were pushed towards getting inside the top 100 in the world, then the top 50. Yeah. The higher up you go, though, the more difficult it becomes. Yeah. And when you were inside that top 50, you thought, wow, he's got there. But then you said, I want top 10. Yeah. You've done that.
I honestly don't know how good a golfer I can be. I know there's certain things that I do that don't help my game of golf. I enjoy certain foods, I enjoy doing certain things when I'm away from golf. I enjoy still playing shinty. Do you know what I mean? There's things that that aren't 100% in golf, because you still need a life. I think I've got a good balance of that, and yeah, when I come out on the golf course just now, I feel like I'm excited to be here.
Well, you're moving forward to Bethpage in a couple of weeks' time, and some of your teammates have been in saying some very nice things about you over the last couple of days. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, obviously positive. There's a lot of positives from hearing them things from teammates, but look, I've looked up to Rory McIlroy on so many different levels, from what he's achieved in the game of golf, from me sitting at home as a youngster, watching him when he was just coming onto the ranks, winning majors, doing everything in the game of golf at that age, and look, even still, he's someone I look up to, and someone that is open to me asking questions, and even like in the team room at the Ryder Cup, he's a leader.
Nobody really knows what it's going to be like out there, other than it's going to be raucous. It's going to be a New York crowd against you, probably 100 to 1 in terms of the numbers against you. How do you cope with that, and how do you cope with, what might be abuse coming from the stands?
Yeah, I'll probably be getting abuse from 12, 13 mates that are out there and all. So, no, it's going to be fun. It's going to be loud. It's going to be entertaining. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've learnt a lot from the year, or the past few years. I've learnt a lot from the BMW in Baltimore. So yeah, I can't wait to get there and get going.
Yep, just 2 weeks to go until that Ryder Cup. To football now, and the first ever Women's Europa Cup is underway. Hibernian are playing right now away against Inter Milan in the first leg of their first round qualifier. And unfortunately, it's been a terrible start for Hibs. Inter have scored twice in the opening 10 minutes. Bugia with the first, and the second added by Skoo. You can watch the match on BBC Sports Scotland online and on the iPlayer. Well, Glasgow City are in action shortly against Irish side Athlone Town. They've had a perfect start to the league season, winning 3 out of 3 in the SWPL, with the latest a 5-0 win over Montrose. And head coach Leanne Ross is excited for a European game at Petershill Park.
They've got threat all over the pitch, they've got pace, they've got power, they've got technical ability, so we're going to have to be at the best of our game plan. Make the best of our game plan, make sure that we're defensively solid, but then bring our qualities, because I think we've got qualities in our team that can go and hurt them going forward as well. But exciting to be back at the Peasy, European football, and I hope the fans come out and enjoy the game.
And that match is live on BBC Alba. Kick-off is at 7:35. You can follow news of both Hibs and Glasgow City's games, and all the build-up to the Women's Rugby World Cup quarter-final between Scotland and England on the BBC Sport Scotland website. And that's all your sport, Graham.
Plenty of games on television on the BBC.
Plenty. We're doing everything, aren't we?
Sheila, thanks so much indeed. Now, here on News at 7, we're telling a series of stories featuring finalists from the BBC's Make a Difference Awards. They were launched back in 2020 and celebrate people who make life better for others. The winners are being announced at an event in Glasgow later this month. Tonight, we're going to hear Callum's story.
I'm Callum and I'm 14.
My name is Leslie Ann and I am Callum's mum. Callum's been doing his paper round for just over a year.
Yeah, I was delivering papers to Bob's house. I noticed that he never took the paper from the day before, and that's not really normal, you don't really see that. So I went round to the back and I saw that he was lying on the floor, and that's when I went round to the neighbour's house and called 999.
To use so much initiative, I was actually in awe.
Once he left in the ambulance, I was really scared, like the thought of what happened to him.
For Bob's daughter, she lived in London, so it allowed her to get up and spend time in the last few days that Bob had in the hospital.
Hi, I'm Vicky. I've known Leslie Ann since we were at school. I nominated Callum for the Make a Difference Award because at the time the incident with Bob had just happened and Callum had intervened that day, so it was just felt the right thing to do.
I was really shocked and surprised, but there was a sense of happiness and I'm proud of myself.
As a teenager, they often get bad reps in the community, and actually this just shows that the teenagers do care and they do have the ability to really take that next step of being an adult, really.
I have been in touch over the last few months with Bob's daughter Morag, and she said regardless if he wins or not, she says he will always be her hero.
Well, the best of luck to Callum and all the other Make a Difference nominees. Right, it's now time for the weather forecast. Been some rain over many parts of Scotland today. I noticed in the pictures
Bit of an understatement, I would say, actually.
It looks quite sunny in these pictures here.
Yes, that's before it turned, before the rain arrived. There's a lot of rain around. I'll show you the radar in a minute, but let's take a look at the pictures, Graham. Thank you. Lovely sunshine in Shetland, someone enjoying it at least. But you can see the clouds really rolling in over Glasgow there. And whilst it was 20 degrees on the Murray coast earlier, it's going to be much cooler tomorrow. Let me show you that rain, though. This is the radar at the moment, or at least the last few hours. A band of rain working its way north and eastwards across the country. So if you're about to head out to the shops or take the dog for a walk, you're going to get really quite wet, I'm afraid. And that rain will clear overnight, but actually it's all part of low pressure, which is sticking with us for the rest of this week and into next week too. There'll be windows of opportunity at times, but a lot of rain to come. First thing tomorrow, it's a windy start with blustery showers through parts of Argyll, in towards parts of Stirling, much of the Highlands and Islands. Elsewhere, a little bit drier to start the day. A few showers there in and around the Murray Firth, and some very strong winds across the northeast coast and Shetland there, gusting to gale force. Now, through the course of the day, we'll see those showers just begin to extend their way across the country, leaving us with a case of sunshine and showers, but a blustery feel, a cool feel, and some heavy rain for the Western Isles. Looking ahead to Friday, the low pressure is moving away to the north, so the isobar is just beginning to open out a touch. It won't be quite as windy, but still quite wet first thing across the Northern Isles, and then another day of sunshine and showers. The showers not quite as blustery as those we're expecting tomorrow, but the chance of a rumble of thunder throughout the next few days, I should say. 14 to 17 Celsius is the afternoon high. That takes us to the extended outlook for the weekend. Saturday's probably all right, and then low pressure barrels through Sunday, Monday before clearing away on Tuesday. So the unsettled theme is set to stick with us. This is the picture for Saturday. You can see there are a number of showers around, and at times, certainly in the west, merging to a longer spell of rain. Drier elsewhere, temperatures 14 to 16 Celsius. Cool feel, and there's that area of low pressure I mentioned over my shoulder. You can see the associated weather fronts bringing some very heavy rain northwards across the country on Sunday, with some strengthening winds too. So unsettled and autumnal, I think, are the watchwords for the next few days, and slowly turning a little bit cooler as well. That's the forecast for now.
I'm just about to jump on my bike to go home.
Oh,
I
dear.
wish I had listened to your warnings earlier. Will I ever learn?
No, probably not.
No. Christopher, thanks very much indeed. And that is all for tonight. Tomorrow night, Sarah McMullen is here for another Reporting Scotland News at 7. Plenty more news online, and check out Scotcast, which is available now on BBC Sounds. From all of us, have a very good evening. Bye-bye.